Storydepths presents Audiobook of the Curators Series, Book 1, Zephy Awakening by Kennard. You are listening to Episode 8 from Zephy Awakening. Click on the playlist to listen to previous episodes. All rights reserved. Deep within the core of Milky Way galaxy, where a group of stars burn with fierce intensity, there lies a mysterious planet Zivie. From distance, Zivie looks like a massive sphere covered in swirling clouds. They shift between deep blue and ethereal white. These clouds act as protective shield, keeping the planet safe from blinding light of the countless stars that surround galaxy's center. But beneath this cloudy exterior lies a world unlike any other. Hidden within Zivie's thick atmosphere is an incredibly advanced realm. It teems with lush greenery. Rugged landscapes dominate parts. The planet boasts a unique, gigantic continent that defies gravity. It floats majestically above an endless ocean that stretches as far as eye can see. This ocean is no ordinary body of water. It's liquid-like, but with some extraordinary properties. These would have baffled Earth scientists and explorers alike. Rivers and streams flow across the continent. They continuously pour into the ocean below. This creates a mesmerizing cycle of life and renewal. The interaction between these waters and the ocean generates dynamic atmosphere. It is both mysterious and necessary for existence, as it forms a blanket of atmosphere that shields Zivie from many of its sun's rays. On Zivie's skies are perpetually bathed in daylight. The concept of night is foreign here. Instead, the planet experiences constant play of light and shadow. As Zivie orbits its many suns, the intensity of daylight varies. This creates a rhythm known as the shifting day to its inhabitants. During the brightest periods, the landscape is drenched in a dazzling, almost blinding light. In the dimmer phases, a soft, serene glow blankets the land. Long, gentle shadows are cast during these times. The continent itself is a marvel of natural beauty and harmony. Towering forests of luminescent trees reach towards the sky. Their leaves shimmer with an iridescent sheen. These trees, some as tall as mountains, form dense canopies. They shelter a myriad of life below. Sprawling plains, fertile and bursting with life, dot the landscape. Mountain ranges with peaks that pierce through the lower layers of clouds stand as silent guardians over the land. Adorned with resilient and vibrant vegetation, these mountains seem both a part of and separate from the continent. Their enigmatic allure adds to the overall beauty. Below the continent ocean is a world of its own. Its surface shimmers with the same blue and white hues as the clouds above, constantly in motion. Continuous flow of water-like compounds creates currents and tides, shape the atmosphere, contributing to planet's unique climate and weather pattern. It's as if ocean breathes, its depths a mystery that invites endless speculation and wonder. At the edge of Zivie's singular floating continent, where verdant plains met shimmering horizon of the endless ocean below, two enigmatic figures stood side by side. They looked human, but were unmistakably otherworldly. Their skin carried unique hue of grayish-blue, glowing faintly under perpetual daylight of their planet. Their forms were strikingly similar to humans. But there was an ethereal quality to their presence, a timelessness that marked them as ageless beings. These beings were Amara and Theron. Amara, with her long flowing hair that seemed to ripple like water, had eyes that shone with ancient wisdom. She stood with grace and poise that belied her immense power. Theron was tall and broad-shouldered. He had an aura of quiet strength, his gaze steady and penetrating as if he could see into the very fabric of universe. Both carried within them weight of universal knowledge, a deep understanding of cosmos and forces that shaped it. They were capable of sending surges of energy. These could alter course of events or bring about catastrophic changes. Yet for eons, they had remained watchful and restrained, their powers dormant. But something had changed. Just as Zephy unknowingly unleashed his power and turned speeding car into dust billions of miles away, Amara and Theron felt a tremor ripple through fabric of reality. It was as if a long-dormant chord had been struck, sending vibrations across the vastness of space to their distant world. Amara's eyes widened. She sensed the awakening power. "Do you feel that, Theron?" she whispered. Her voice tinged with awe and apprehension. "A force we have not felt in centuries." Theron nodded, his expression grave. "Yes, Amara, the power is unmistakable. It resonates with energy of ancients. But who could be wielding it? These abilities have been dormant for so long. They turned their gaze outward, as if searching through the star-filled expanse for source of this awakening power. For millennia they had guarded the knowledge and the balance of their world. The sudden reemergence of this power was both alarming and intriguing. "This power belongs to an ancient being," Amara said, her voice barely a whisper. She contemplated the implications. "Someone who has been hidden from our sight for a long time, but why now? Why is this force awakening after so many centuries?" Kieran's brow furrowed. "It is possible this being has only recently come into contact with their abilities, or perhaps they have been forced to use them out of necessity. Whatever the reason, we must understand who they are and why they have surfaced." They exchanged a look. A silent agreement passed between them. Their mission was clear. They had to find the source of this power and uncover the identity of the being who wielded it. The delicate balance they had maintained could be at risk if this power was not understood. "We must be vigilant," Kieran said finally, his voice firm. "We cannot allow this force to go unchecked. It is our duty to ensure the safety of our world and universe." Amara nodded, her resolve hardening. "Yes, we will find this being and uncover the truth. We owe it to the cosmos to protect the delicate harmony we have upheld for so long." As they stood at the precipice of their continent, vast ocean below swirling with its own mysteries, Amara and Kieran prepared to embark on their quest. The echoes of Zephy's power had reached them. It set in motion a journey that would bridge vast distance between their worlds. The awakening of such ancient abilities signaled the beginning of a new chapter, one that would reveal secrets long buried and forces long forgotten. Their eyes turned towards the stars. The answers lay waiting. In a distant galaxy, Zephy continued his journey. He remained unaware that his actions had set off a ripple that would soon bring him into contact with beings as ancient and powerful as the universe itself. Back in Kit's hammock, Evelyn was working tirelessly to track down Zephy. Despite her age, her influence and network of contacts proved invaluable in piecing together his movements. The moment she learned Zephy had left town, she reached out to her extensive network. She called in favors and gathered information. Her urgency was palpable. She knew that Zephy's powers, if unchecked, could lead to unforeseen consequences. Using information she had gathered, Evelyn pinpointed the general direction Zephy was heading. Her age and frailty prevented her from joining pursuit. She entrusted tasks to Owen and Lena, both determined and capable. With Evelyn's guidance, they set off. They communicated with her regularly as she provided remote assistance. After hours of following leads and tracing Zephy's path, Owen and Lena arrived at Shady Motel where Zephy had stayed the previous night. The place looked run down, uninviting, peeling paint and a dimly lit sign flickering in the evening light. Owen and Lena approached the front desk. The receptionist, a disinterested middle-aged man, was reading a magazine. He barely looked up as they walked in. "Excuse me," Owen began. He tried to sound polite but firm. "We're looking for a man who might have stayed here last night. All dark hair and traveling with a German shepherd." The receptionist glanced at them, his expression bored. "Yeah, I remember him. Just a typical customer. Checked in late, left early this morning." Lena leaned forward, and her curiosity piqued. "Did you notice anything unusual about him? Did he say where he was headed?" The receptionist shook his head. "Nothing unusual. Paid in cash, didn't talk much, but I did see him pick up a teenager this morning. Strange, 'cause I didn't see the kid check in." Owen and Lena exchanged glances, their concern deepening. "Can you describe the teenager?" Owen asked. The receptionist shrugged. "Young girl, maybe early teens. Not much else to say. They didn't hang around long." Lena's mind raced. "Did you hear anything about where they were going?" The receptionist finally set down his magazine. He looked slightly more interested. "No, but in the security camera, I saw them drive to the west." "Thank you," Owen said. His voice was tight with urgency. "You've been very helpful." They turned to leave, but Lena paused. She looked back at the receptionist. "Did he seem okay to you? I mean, anything off about his behavior?" The receptionist shook his head again. "Like I said, just a typical customer. A bit tense maybe, but who isn't these days?" As they stepped outside, the weight of situation pressed down on Owen and Lena. They had direction, But the presence of a teenager complicated things. Who was this girl, and why was she with Zephy? Owen glanced at Lena. His expression was grim. We need to find them quickly. Zephy's not just running, he's got a kid with him. We have to make sure they're both safe. Lena nodded. Determination hardened her features. Let's go. We can't waste any more time. They climbed back into car with Lena taking the wheel this time. She revved the engine and pulled out of parking lot. She followed the road west as the receptionist had indicated. Evelyn's voice crackled over phone, offering encouragement and instructions from her remote vantage point. Keep me updated on your progress. Evelyn said, her tone firm despite worry that seeped through. We're getting closer. You can do this. With shadows of the setting sun lengthening around them, Owen and Lena drove into the gathering night. Their focus sharp, their resolve unshaken, determined to find Zephy and the mysterious teenager before anything else could go wrong. As twilight settled over the winding forest road, the scene at the edge of the dust cloud took on an otherworldly hue. Remnants of Zephy's power hung in the air like a delicate fog, particles of dust swirling slowly in the fading light. This was the very spot where Zephy had, without fully understanding how, turned a speeding car into nothing more than fine glittering dust. This very moment, portal opened, edges shimmering with blue and white luminescence. From within the portal, two figures emerged, their appearance striking and ethereal. Amara and Thyron, guardians of Zivie, stepped onto the road with a grace that seemed almost beyond physical. Their skin, cool grayish-blue, glowed faintly in dusk. Their eyes held wisdom of ages. They surveyed the scene, their expressions calm yet filled with purpose. Energy of the recent event still pulsed faintly in the air, resonating with ancient powers they had sensed from across the galaxy. This is the place, Amara said softly, voice carrying a melodic resonance. The awakening of power is recent. He looked around. We must find the source. Thyron nodded. Gaze scanning area. Indeed. As they stood in the center of the road, car approached from the east, headlights cutting through early evening gloom. Inside, Owen and Lena drove with single-minded determination. They aimed to find Zephy. Rounding a bend, the strange sight ahead brought their car to an abrupt halt. You see that? Lena whispered, pointing ahead. Dust, and those people. They don't look like they're from around here. Owen squinted. He tried to make sense of the surreal tableau before them. The dust cloud shimmered in fading light. Two figures stood within it, looking almost godly. Their presence was commanding and enigmatic. They're not just people, Owen murmured. There's something otherworldly about them. We should be careful. Deciding to approach cautiously, Owen and Lena got out of car but kept safe distance. They moved quietly. They didn't want to draw attention to themselves. From cover of the nearby trees, they observed Amara and Thyron. They tried to piece together what they were witnessing. They didn't know true intentions of Amara and Thyron, but their appearance and nature of their questions had set off alarm bells. It was clear these beings were searching for something, or someone, powerful. Once they were back in car, Owen started the engine to pull away from the scene. As Owen started car, the engine's hum was drowned out by a sudden, astonishing sight in front of them. Lena, who was turning to check for oncoming traffic, gasped and gripped Owen's arm. Owen, look. She whispered, her voice tight with a mix of fear and awe. Owen followed her gaze. Amara, standing beside swirling dust cloud, raised right hand with a graceful, almost languid motion. The particles of dust, which had been hanging in air like suspended glitter, began to coalesce and shift, moving with an ethereal fluidity. In a matter of moments, the dust cloud transformed, solidifying into shape of car, perfect replica of one that Zephy had unknowingly disintegrated. The newly formed car hovered for an instant before it suddenly sped forward. As if propelled by an unseen force, it careened off-road, crashing violently into nearby tree. The sound of impact echoed through air, a sharp contrast to the quiet fading evening. Lena's heart pounded in chest. Her mind struggled to process what she had just witnessed. "Did you see that?" she murmured. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. She turned dust back into car, and it just crashed. Owen's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "Yeah, I saw it. We need to go. Now." Without another word, he shifted car into gear and drove away. They accelerated down the road. They needed to put as much distance as possible between themselves and two beings with such extraordinary powers. As they sped away, Lena couldn't help but glance back. Amara and Thyron stood watching, their expressions inscrutable. The restored car lay crumpled against tree. Its once pristine form is now a twisted wreck. Who are these people? Lena wondered aloud. It was more to herself than to Owen. What kind of power is that? Owen shook his head. His focus was on the road ahead. I don't know, but we can't let them find Zephy. They're probably looking for him, and whatever they want, it can't be good. Meanwhile, back at the scene, Amara lowered her hand, her expression contemplative. Balance has been restored here, but the power we sensed earlier, it's different. Elusive. Theron nodded. Branfurud. Yes. Normally we can track ancient powers from any distance. This one is difficult to grasp. It's as if it's hidden, shrouded from our senses. Amara's gaze turned westward, direction in which Zephy had traveled. We must find this being. They have managed to stay hidden for centuries. This suggests a power unlike any we have encountered before. Left unchecked, it could disrupt the delicate equilibrium we maintain. Theron's eyes followed Amara's. He was filled with a quiet determination. We need to understand who or what they are, and why their power has awakened now, after so long. With shared resolve, they began their journey westward, stepping into the air and moving with speed that belied their serene demeanor. Though they did not know what Zephy looked like or how he had managed to remain hidden, their pursuit was unwavering. The mysteries of Zephy's powers and his ability to stay concealed through the ages only deepened their resolve to find him. As Lena and Owen raced down the road, putting as much distance as possible between themselves and scene of car crash, they couldn't shake the feeling of being caught in a game far larger than themselves. The stakes had become much higher. The urgency to find Zephy and understand his powers had never been more critical. Lena glanced at Owen, her expression determined despite fear in her eyes. We have to find him, Owen. Before they do, we need to help him understand what he's capable of and why they're after him. Owen nodded, his jaw set with resolve. We will, Lena. We're not going to let them get to him first. We'll figure this out together. With that, they pressed on, the shadows of evening stretching long ahead of them. They continued their desperate search for Zephy. After hours of driving Zephy, Rex and Lily finally reached the picturesque city of Annapolis. The city's charm was evident. They crossed a bridge overlooking serene bay water glistening under moon's light. Rex, excited by change of scenery, had his head out the window, ears flapping in breeze. Lily, despite her usual tough exterior, couldn't help but be captivated by the view. "We stop for food?" Lily asked, tone as demanding as ever. "I'm starving." Zephy, used to her persistent demands by now, sighed. He nodded. All right, we'll find a place to eat." They pulled into a small diner near Bay Area. Its bright neon sign flickered at night. The diner had old-fashioned charm. Red and white checkered tablecloths covered tables. Vintage posters adorned walls. Zephy parked his car outside, a classic vehicle from the early 1900s. It immediately caught the eye of passers-by. Inside, atmosphere was warm and inviting. They took a seat by window, giving Rex a spot to sit where he could keep an eye on car. Lily eagerly ordered burger and fries, while Zephy opted for something simpler, eggs and toast. As they waited for their food, Lily kept glancing outside. Curiosity piqued by attention, Zephy's car was garnering. Most people just admired it in passing. But one man, in his early 40s, seemed particularly interested. He lingered near the car, running his fingers along the polished exterior, clearly fascinated by its unique and collectible nature. Zephy noticed the man through the window. He felt a surge of annoyance. He didn't like strangers touching his car, especially one as rare and valuable as this. With a sigh, he excused himself from the table and headed outside to confront the man. "Can I help you?" Zephy called out. His voice edged with irritation as he approached man. The man looked up, seemingly unfazed. "This is a beautiful car, a real piece of history. I haven't seen one like this in ages. Must be worth a fortune today." Zephy's eyes narrowed. "Thanks for the compliment, but I'd appreciate it if you didn't touch it." The man smiled, raising his hands in a placating gesture. No harm intended, just admiring it. If you ever consider selling, I'd be willing to make a generous offer. Zephy shook his head firmly. Not interested. Please back off. The man shrugged, not pushing further. Instead, he pulled out his phone and snapped a quick photo of the car from the front. Can't blame the guy for trying, he said with a grin before turning and walking away. Zephy watched him leave, his unease growing. There was something unsettling about the man's interest and the photo he had taken. Pushing his concerns aside for now, Zephy returned to the diner and took his seat across from Lily. What was that about? Lily asked, her mouth half full of fries. What did he want? Just some guy interested in the car. Trying to keep his voice casual. He wanted to buy it. I told him to back off. Lily raised an eyebrow, looking intrigued. Your car must be really special then. Why didn't you sell it? You could get a lot of money. Zephy shook his head. It's not for sale. It's more than just a car to me. Besides, some things aren't about money. Lily shrugged, accepting his answer. She returned to her meal. Whatever. Just seems like a lot of trouble for an old car. Zephy glanced outside at the car. Sense of protectiveness welling up inside him. Maybe, but it's worth it. Their conversation shifted back to lighter topics as they finished their meal. The diner's cozy ambiance and warm food provided brief respite from worries and uncertainties that had been following them. Yet as they prepared to leave, Zephy couldn't shake an uneasy feeling that their journey was attracting more attention than he was comfortable with. The man's keen interest in the photo he took lingered in his mind, adding to the growing list of questions and mysteries surrounding his life and powers. He decided to keep a closer eye on their surroundings as they continued their journey westward, always ready for whatever lay ahead. However, Zephy couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Glancing in the rearview mirror, he noticed a car that seemed to be trailing them. It had been behind them since they left the diner, maintaining steady distance. Zephy's brow furrowed with suspicion. Hey Lily, he said, his tone sharp. Take a look behind us. Is that car following us? Lily, lounging in the back seat with Rex, rolled her eyes but leaned forward to peer through the rear window. Why are you so paranoid? He retorted. But fine, I'll check. She squinted, observing the car in question. Yeah, it's been there for a while. Why don't you just slow down and let it pass? If it doesn't, then maybe you're right, and it's following us. Zephy's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He hated to admit it, but Lily had a point. Without another word, he eased off the gas, slowing the car to a more leisurely pace. The car behind them also slowed, maintaining its distance. Well, looks like you're right, Zephy muttered, irritation creeping into his voice. They're not overtaking us, Lily smirked, a glint of mischief in her eyes. See, told you, but what's the big deal anyway? You've got those crazy powers. Why worry about some car? Zephy shot her glare through the rearview mirror. It's not that simple, Lily. Just because I have these abilities doesn't mean I want to use them, especially not when I don't understand them fully. Lily crossed her arms unimpressed. Sure, whatever. Still, you could have sold that old junker for a ton of cash back at the diner. You could have bought a better car. We wouldn't have to deal with this crap. Zephy's jaw tightened. Annoyance flashed in his eyes. It's not just a car, all right? Got history. Not everything's about money. Lily scoffed, her tone dripped with sarcasm. Oh, please. History? It's a car. You're just being sentimental and stupid. You could have had enough money to get a new car, or even several new cars. Zephy felt his frustration mounting. He wouldn't understand. Snap. Some things are worth more than money. Besides, I don't trust people who get too interested in what I own. We're trying to stay low-key, remember? Lily rolled her eyes again, clearly unimpressed. Yeah, staying low-key with a car, worth a lot. Real smart, Zephy. The tension between them crackled like static electricity. Zephy's instincts told him to keep moving, but the car behind them was a constant reminder they were being watched. He glanced back at Lily, who was now staring out the window, visibly annoyed but unconcerned. All right, genius, Zephy said, his voice heavy with sarcasm. Since you seem to know everything, what do you suggest we do about car behind us? Lily's lips curled into a half-smile. How about this? Speed up, take few turns and see if they keep up. If they do, we'll know for sure they're following us. And if they are, maybe you can finally use some of those amazing powers of yours to deal with them. Zephy sighed but nodded. Fine, hold on then. Press down on the accelerator. Car surged forward. The road ahead twisted and turned through forested landscape. Zephy took the opportunity to weave through series of sharp turns and side roads. Despite his efforts, the car behind them matched every maneuver, staying relentlessly on their tail. Well, that settles it, Zephy muttered through gritted teeth. They're definitely following us. Lily leaned back, her expression with a mixture of defiance and challenge. So what's the plan now, Mr. Powers? Gonna dust them like you did last car? Zephy shot her look. His face showed frustration and determination. I don't know yet, but we need to find a way to lose them without causing scene. Lily shrugged, seemingly unfazed. Whatever you say, just make it quick. I'd like to get to wherever we're going. No more drama. As Zephy navigated winding roads, his mind raced with possibility. Far behind them was a problem he couldn't ignore. They needed to find a solution fast. Stakes were getting higher. Secrets he carried were becoming harder to protect. With Lily's constant taunts and relentless pursuit, Zephy knew he couldn't afford a mistake. The road ahead was uncertain, the shadows of their past and present closing in. This was episode 8 from the Curators Series, Book 1, Zephy Awakening by Kennard. Available only on StoryDepths' YouTube channel. Click on the playlist to listen to other episodes.